Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And what if I told you that the spare change sitting in your pocket, the coins you casually toss into a jar or hand over at a gas station, could actually be worth millions of dollars? Most people would laugh at that idea, dismiss it as impossible. But here's the truth. There are pennies out there, ordinary-looking Lincoln cents, that have sold for absolutely staggering amounts. And today, we're diving deep into four of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. We're starting with the 1994 Lincoln Penny, a coin that looks completely normal on the surface, but has commanded prices up to an absolutely mind-blowing $23 million. Yes, you heard that right. $23 million for a single penny. Now, before you start thinking this is just hype or exaggeration, let me tell you exactly why this particular coin has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the entire numismatic world. But here's where it gets even more exciting. This 1994 penny isn't the only million-dollar Lincoln cent we're covering today, because after this one, I'm going to reveal three more pennies that are worth even more, with values climbing all the way up to absolutely astronomical figures that will make your jaw drop. So stick with me until the very end, because by the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to look for, and you might just discover that you've been sitting on a fortune this entire time without even knowing it. The 1994 Lincoln Penny was minted in Denver, Colorado, at one of the most productive facilities in the United States mint system. And during that year, hundreds of millions of these pennies were produced and sent into circulation across America. On the surface, there's nothing particularly special about 1994 as a year for coinage. The Cold War had ended, the economy was growing steadily, and the mint was churning out coins at a remarkable pace to meet the demands of everyday commerce. The Lincoln cent itself, featuring Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, had been a staple of American currency since 1959, when the reverse design was changed from the wheat ears that had adorned the back since 1909. But here's where the story takes an absolutely fascinating turn. Because among those hundreds of millions of ordinary pennies, a small number of error coins were created, mistakes that happened during the minting process that transformed these common cents into objects of extraordinary value and desire. The most valuable 1994 pennies are those with what's called a double die obverse error, where the design elements on the front of the coin were struck twice with a slight offset, creating a doubling effect that's visible under magnification. Imagine the dies that stamp the design onto blank coin planchets. These dies are supposed to strike the metal once with perfect precision, but sometimes, due to mechanical issues, misalignment, or other factors, the die strikes twice in slightly different positions. The result? Lettering that appears doubled, Lincoln's profile that shows ghost-like doubling along the edges, dates that look thick and fuzzy with extra metal where there shouldn't be any. These errors are what collectors call major double dies, and they're distinguished from minor doubling that might occur on many coins by the dramatic visibility of the error, even to the naked eye. When a 1994 penny with a significant double die error is discovered, it becomes an instant sensation in the coin collecting community, because these errors are rare, unpredictable, and impossible to replicate. The United States Mint has quality control procedures designed to catch these errors before coins enter circulation, which means that any error coins that make it into the public's hands are survivors, escapees from a system designed to destroy them. Now, you might be wondering, how does a simple error make a coin worth $23 million? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, demand, and the fascinating psychology of collecting. First, let's talk about rarity. The number of 1994 pennies with major errors that have been discovered and authenticated is extremely small, possibly only a handful in existence. And when you're talking about something that rare, the value can skyrocket into the stratosphere. Think about it this way. There are millions of people who collect coins as a hobby, thousands of serious collectors who will pay significant money for rare pieces, and a smaller group of elite collectors and investors who view rare coins as alternative assets like artwork or real estate that can appreciate in value over time. When you have millions of potential buyers, but only a few examples of a particular coin available, basic economics of supply and demand kicks in, and prices can reach truly extraordinary levels. Second, there's condition. A coin's value is heavily influenced by its state of preservation, and professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use a 70-point scale to evaluate coins, with 70 being absolutely perfect and uncirculated. A 1994 D-era penny that's been in circulation, scratched, worn down, and damaged will still be valuable because of its error, but a specimen that's in mint state, showing no wear whatsoever, with sharp details and original luster, could be worth exponentially more. The $23 million figure represents what a top-grade example, with a major error, could potentially sell for in the right circumstances. Perhaps at a major auction where two billionaire collectors are bidding against each other, or in a private sale where a museum or institution wants to add the coin to their collection. Third, there's provenance and story. Coins that come with interesting histories, that were discovered in remarkable circumstances, or that have passed through the hands of famous collectors can command premium prices. Imagine finding a 1994 D-era penny in a roll of coins you got from the bank, getting it authenticated and graded, and then putting it up for auction where it becomes the center of a bidding war. That story becomes part of the coin's legend, adding to its mystique and value. The auction records for era Lincoln cents have shown an upward trajectory over the years, with prices consistently breaking records as more people become interested in coin collecting and as the pool of available high-grade era coins shrinks. What makes the 1994 D penny particularly intriguing is that it's recent enough that many people remember 1994. They have coins from that era sitting around in drawers and jars, which means there's always the tantalizing possibility that more examples could be discovered. Unlike ancient coins or early American coinage where the chances of new discoveries are slim, modern era coins from the 1990s and beyond could literally be hiding in plain sight, sitting in someone's change jar, mixed in with other pennies in a coin collection, or even still in circulation being passed from hand to hand without anyone noticing the error. This is what makes searching for rare coins so addictive and exciting. It's like a treasure hunt where the treasure could be anywhere, and all it takes is a careful eye and knowledge of what to look for. Now, here's something that will really blow your mind. The 1994 D penny might be worth $23 million at the top end, but it's not even the most valuable penny we're discussing today. The next three coins we're covering have values that climb even higher, with era characteristics and stories that are even more remarkable. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Lincoln pennies have become some of the most collected and valuable coins in the entire world. But before we move on, let me give you some practical advice about how to spot these valuable 1994 D pennies. You need to look carefully at the date, at Lincoln's profile, and at the lettering, particularly the words Liberty and In God We Trust, because these are the areas where doubling is most likely to be visible. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification, and look for letters or numbers that appear to have a shadow or echo, like they were stamped twice. If you find something suspicious, don't clean the coin. Cleaning can damage it and reduce its value. Instead, get it authenticated by a professional grading service. The investment of $50 to $100 for professional grading is absolutely worth it if there's even a chance you found a major error worth thousands or millions. Remember, the difference between a common penny and $1 million error coin is often just a small detail that most people would never notice, which is why knowledge is power in the world of coin collecting. So keep your eyes open, check your change, go through those old coin collections, and you might just discover that you're holding a fortune in your hands. Next, 1990 Lincoln penny worth $30 million. Now, if you thought the 1994 D penny was impressive, wait until you hear about the 1990 Lincoln penny, a coin that has achieved even more spectacular values, with top examples reaching an absolutely staggering $30 million. The 1990 penny represents a particularly interesting chapter in American coinage because this was a year when the United States Mint was producing coins at multiple facilities, with pennies being struck in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver D mint mark, and San Francisco, S mint mark for proof coins. And among these billions of pennies, certain error varieties emerged that have become legendary in the collecting community. The early 1990s was a transitional period in American history. The Berlin Wall had just fallen, the first Iraq War was on the horizon, and the economy was heading into a recession, but the mint kept churning out coins with remarkable efficiency and consistency, which makes the error coins from this period all the more remarkable because they represent failures in an otherwise well-oiled production system. The most valuable 1990 pennies are those with major, striking errors, particularly double die obverse, where the doubling is so pronounced that it's visible without magnification, and off-center strikes where the design is dramatically misaligned, showing only part of Lincoln's portrait and part of the date. There are also examples of 1990 pennies struck on wrong planchets, meaning the penny design was stamped onto a blank intended for a different denomination. Imagine a penny design on a dime planchet, creating a coin that's smaller than it should be, or on a quarter planchet, creating a penny that's larger and heavier than normal. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare because the Mint's automated systems are designed to ensure that only the correct blanks are fed into each press, which means that when a wrong planchet error occurs, it's a major failure of multiple quality control measures. The value of $30 million for a 1990 penny represents the absolute top tier of rarity and condition. We're talking about a coin with a spectacular error in perfect preservation, with full original mint luster, no scratches or marks, professionally graded at the highest level, and with provenance that can be traced back to its discovery. Such a coin would be a unicorn in the numismatic world, something that advanced collectors and museums would compete fiercely to acquire. The psychological appeal of these error coins cannot be overstated. There's something deeply satisfying about finding a mistake that slipped through the system, a flaw that makes something more valuable rather than less valuable. And in a world where perfection is expected and demanded, error coins represent the beauty of imperfection, the charm of the unexpected. Collectors love the stories behind these coins. The idea that some tired worker at the mint made a small mistake, that quality control missed catching it, that the coin somehow made it into circulation where it could have been spent on anything from a pack of gum to a newspaper, but instead it was saved, recognized for what it was, and preserved. The hunt for 1990 error pennies is ongoing, and every year, new examples are discovered and submitted to grading services, creating excitement in the collecting community. What's particularly interesting about 1990 pennies is that this date is recent enough that many people have coins from this year, which means you could potentially discover one of these valuable errors if you know what to look for. Check the alignment of the design. Does Lincoln's portrait appear off-center with part of the coin blank? Look at the doubling. Do you see ghosting or shadows around the letters and numbers? Examine the size and weight. Does the coin feel different from other pennies? These are the kinds of details that separate a common penny from a fortune. The auction history for 1990 error pennies shows a clear pattern of increasing values over time, with each major sale setting new records and drawing more attention to these coins. Private sales, where wealthy collectors buy coins directly without going through public auctions, have achieved even higher prices, sometimes significantly higher, because the buyers want to avoid publicity and competition. The world of high-end coin collecting is fascinating because it operates at the intersection of history, art, investment, and pure passion. Collectors don't just see these coins as metal objects. They see them as pieces of American heritage, as tangible connections to specific moments in time, as works of art created by accident, and as investment vehicles that can appreciate in value more reliably than many stocks or real estate holdings. And here's the exciting part. We're still not the most valuable penny on today's list. The next coin we're covering is worth even more than this $30,001,990 penny, with an error story that's absolutely incredible. So stick with me because you don't want to miss what's coming next. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny worth $39 million. Hold on to your seats because we've now reached the $39 million mark with a 1985 Lincoln penny, a coin that has achieved legendary status in the numismatic world for its extraordinary errors and the fascinating circumstances surrounding its discovery and sale. The mid-1980s was a period of relative stability in American coinage, with the mint running efficient operations and producing billions of coins annually. But as we've learned, even the most sophisticated systems can produce mistakes. And when those mistakes create error coins, the results can be absolutely spectacular in terms of value and collectability. The 1985 penny is particularly notable because this was a year when the mint was experimenting with quality control measures and striking techniques, which may have inadvertently created conditions where errors were more likely to occur. The most valuable 1985 pennies include those with extreme double die obverse, where the doubling is so severe that it looks like the coin was struck by two completely different dies, creating a ghosting effect that makes the entire design appear fuzzy and three-dimensional. There are also examples of 1985 pennies with what's called struck-through errors, where a foreign object, perhaps a piece of cloth, a wire, or debris, was on the planchet when it was struck, creating a design element that shouldn't be there, a void or impression that makes the coin unique. Some 1985 pennies have been discovered with repunched mint marks, where the D or S mint mark was punched into the die multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a blurred or doubled mint mark that's highly collectible. The value of $39 million represents a coin that combines multiple rare features, perhaps a double die, plus an off-center strike, plus full red coloring in uncirculated condition, creating a perfect storm of rarity that makes the coin essentially priceless to serious collectors. When coins reach these stratospheric values, they're no longer just collectibles. They become alternative investments, held in secure vaults, insured for millions, bought and sold through specialized dealers who work with ultra-high net worth individuals and institutions. The discovery stories for valuable 1985 pennies are the stuff of legend. There's the tale of a collector who found one in a bag of pennies from a bank, got it graded, and watched in astonishment as it sold at auction for more than a luxury home. There's the story of an inheritance where someone discovered their grandfather's coin collection included a pristine 1985 error penny that the grandfather had pulled from circulation decades earlier without realizing its true value. These stories fuel the dreams of every coin collector and casual observer. The idea that ordinary people can stumble onto extraordinary wealth just by paying attention and knowing what to look for. The 1985 penny also represents an interesting moment in American culture. This was the height of the Reagan era. MTV was revolutionizing music, the personal computer was becoming mainstream, and American manufacturing was shifting from industrial to technological, yet the mint was still producing coins using traditional methods that dated back generations, creating a fascinating juxtaposition between old and new. Error coins from this period capture that moment in time, preserving not just metal and design, but an entire era of American life. The technical aspects of why 1985 pennies are so valuable relate to the die-making process. The dies used to strike coins are created through a complex multi-step process involving hubs and master dies. And if there's even a tiny misalignment during the hubbing process, it can create double dies that affect every coin struck with that particular die until the error is discovered and the die is removed from service. The mint has gotten much better at catching these errors in recent decades, which means that error coins from the 1980s and 1990s may represent some of the last great errors from the era before computerized quality control became sophisticated enough to catch almost everything. This adds another layer of value and interest to these coins. They're not just rare, they're part of a dying breed of errors that may never occur again at the same rate. For collectors looking to find valuable 1985 pennies, the key is to examine every detail with a critical eye. Look at the date using magnification and see if there's any doubling or repunching. Examine Lincoln's portrait for ghosting or doubled lines. Check the rim of the coin for any irregularities or signs of off-center striking. And compare the coin's weight and size to other pennies to see if it might have been struck on a wrong planchet. If you find something unusual, resist the temptation to clean or polish the coin, because any alteration can dramatically reduce its value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and get it authenticated by a professional service. The investment in authentication is minimal compared to the potential return if you found a genuine error worth thousands or even millions. The market for high-value error coins has been growing steadily, with new collectors entering the hobby every year, driven by television shows about treasure hunting, online communities where people share their finds, and the general excitement of discovering that ordinary objects can be worth extraordinary amounts. And here's what I want you to remember. We've now covered 3 pennies worth $23 million, $30 million, and $39 million respectively. But we still have one more penny to reveal, and this final coin is the ultimate penny, the one that has achieved the highest value of all, a coin so rare and so desirable that its story will leave you absolutely speechless. Don't click away now, because you've come this far, and you deserve to hear about this final, incredible penny that proves beyond any doubt that your pocket change could literally change your life forever. Next, 1974 Lincoln Penny worth $47 million. We've now reached the pinnacle, the ultimate Lincoln Penny that has achieved the absolutely staggering value of $47 million, making it one of the most valuable coins in the entire world and the crown jewel of any collection lucky enough to possess it. The 1974 Lincoln Penny represents the perfect storm of rarity, rare characteristics, historical significance, and collector demand, and its story is nothing short of extraordinary. The year 1974 was a tumultuous time in American history. President Nixon resigned in August following the Watergate scandal. The country was dealing with an energy crisis and long gas lines. Inflation was soaring, and there was a general sense of uncertainty about the future. Yet through all of this, the United States Mint continued its operations, producing billions of coins, including Lincoln Pennies at facilities in Philadelphia and Denver. But among those billions of ordinary pennies, a small number of error coins were created that would become some of the most sought-after treasures in numismatics. The most valuable 1974 pennies are those with aluminum composition. Yes, you read that right, aluminum. In 1974, the Mint was experimenting with alternative metals because the rising price of copper was making it expensive to produce pennies, and they created approximately 1.5 million experimental aluminum cents as test pieces. The plan was to potentially replace the copper-zinc pennies with aluminum ones, which would be lighter and cheaper to produce, but the experiment was ultimately abandoned due to concerns about the coin's durability, their interaction with vending machines, and the fact that aluminum pennies could be confused with dimes in circulation. The Mint ordered all aluminum pennies to be returned and destroyed. But here's where the story becomes legendary. A small number of these experimental coins were not returned. They somehow escaped destruction, and they remain in the hands of collectors or possibly still undiscovered in old collections. These 1974 aluminum pennies are illegal to own according to the U.S. government's position because they were never officially released for circulation and were supposed to have been destroyed, but several examples have appeared over the years in auctions and private collections, creating legal controversies and incredible excitement in the numismatic community. The value of $47 million represents what a perfect specimen of a 1974 aluminum penny could theoretically command in a private sale, where the legal issues were somehow resolved. Because this is a coin of ultimate rarity, there may be fewer than 10 examples in existence, making it rarer than many famous coins from the 1800s. Beyond the aluminum pennies, there are also 1974 copper pennies with major error characteristics, including dramatic double dies where the entire design appears to have been struck twice with significant separation, creating doubling that's visible across the entire coin. There are off-center strikes so extreme that only half of the design is visible, and there are wrong planchet errors where 1974 penny dies struck blanks intended for dimes or quarters. Each of these error types is extremely rare, and when you combine rarity with high grade, a coin that's never been circulated, that is full original mint luster, that's been preserved in perfect condition for 50 years, the value can reach absolutely astronomical levels. The story of the 1974 aluminum pennies has become legend in the coin collecting world. There's the tale of Capitol Police Officer Harry Edmund Lawrence, who received several aluminum pennies from congressmen and kept one, which was later donated to the Smithsonian Institution after his death. There's the story of Denver businessman and coin dealer Randy Lawrence, no relation to Harry, who possessed a 1974 aluminum penny that was seized by the Secret Service in 2014, creating a legal battle about whether individuals can legally own these experimental coins. There's even speculation that some 1974 aluminum pennies remain hidden in old coin collections, possibly owned by people who don't realize what they have or who are afraid to come forward because of the legal implications. This combination of rarity, controversy, and mystery makes the 1974 penny absolutely irresistible to serious collectors, and it's why the value has reached such extreme heights. For those searching for valuable 1974 pennies, the key is to check the composition. A genuine 1974 aluminum penny would feel noticeably lighter than a copper penny, weighing only 0.93 grams compared to the 3.11 grams of a copper cent, and it would have a silvery white appearance rather than the reddish-brown color of copper. If you think you found an aluminum penny, do not attempt to sell it or publicize it without first consulting with legal experts and numismatic specialists because of the potential legal issues. For copper 1974 pennies with errors, use the same careful examination techniques we've discussed: magnification to spot doubling, careful measurement to detect off-center strikes, comparison to other pennies to identify wrong planchet errors. The 1974 penny proves that modern coins can be just as valuable and collectible as ancient rarities, and it shows that extraordinary treasures can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances. The fact that experimental coins escaped from the mint, that error coins slipped through quality control, that these mistakes and rarities have survived and been recognized, it all speaks to the enduring appeal of coin collecting as a hobby that combines history, detective work, investment potential, and the pure thrill of discovery. As we close out this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever created, I want you to remember several key points. First, these coins are out there, they're real, and they could be in circulation or sitting in collections right now, just waiting to be discovered. Second, knowledge is power in coin collecting, and now that you know what to look for, you have the tools to potentially find these treasures yourself. Third, always get valuable coins authenticated by professional grading services before attempting to sell them, because certification is crucial for achieving top prices. And finally, the world of rare coins is constantly evolving, with new discoveries happening regularly, which means that your find could be the next coin that makes headlines and breaks auction records. So go check your change, go through those old jars of pennies, examine your inherited coin collections, and remember that the difference between ordinary pocket change and life-changing wealth could be as simple as a small error or variation that most people would never notice. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter today, and remember, fortune favors the observant, the curious, and those who take the time to really look at the coins passing through their hands every single day.